And welcome back. One of Africa's iconic trees, the baobab, faces multiple threats, not only due to global demand for the fruit's health benefits, but climate change and industrialization. In 2022, baobab trees were controversially uprooted in Kenya and exported to Georgia in Eastern Europe. And according to recent reports, thousands of baobab and other indigenous South African trees will make way for a heavy industry development plan in Limpopo, otherwise known as the Makado Musina Special Economic Zone. Ethno bioethnotist as well as biobotanist at the National Museum of Kenya, Patrick Maundu, joins us now. Patrick, perhaps to start, and thank you so much for joining us, perhaps to start the conversation here. The history and significance of the baobab tree holds great cultural and ecological significance across the continent, particularly East and Southern Africa. Talk to us about that and why it is important to preserve that.
The baobab is one of the iconic trees we have in this continent. It's found in 37 countries in Africa, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa. And the baobab is both culturally and ecologically very important wherever it is found in this continent. Culturally, the baobab is viewed by local communities as a sacred tree, and a lot of ceremonies are conducted throughout the continent under this tree. And ecologically, it's very important because the baobab is an ecosystem in itself. The baobab houses lots of other species. There are many species that depend on baobab flowers for nectar. Other species just live inside on the surface of the baobab. Very specialized insects, some mushrooms that particularly live on the decaying wood of the baobab are just found on this tree and nowhere else. So the baobab is an ecosystem in itself, and losing it, we do not lose the baobab as a species alone, but we also lose many other species that depend on this particular species.
What is the economic value of the general botany of indigenous vegetation, including the baobab tree in Eastern and Southern Africa?
The baobab specifically is a very unique tree because every single part of the baobab tree is useful. The leaves are used throughout the continent as a source of vegetable. They are cooked and they are very nutritious, just as nutritious as the fruit itself. The fruits, and particularly the fruit pulp, is used all over the continent as an additive to all sorts of foodstuffs in the continent. It's found in cuisines everywhere you found the baobab, and the baobab also as a tree is a source of other products. The seed itself is a source of oil that is valuable in the cosmetic industry. The bark of the baobab is a source of string that is used for making baskets and string throughout the continent. And the tree itself is used by local people for suspending beehives, and the story goes on and on. And therefore, it's a very significant species wherever it grows in this continent.
We just have about a minute left, but I do want to ask you this, Patrick. Is the uprooting of the baobab a reversible event? That is to say, can it be conserved and preserved in other parts of the world and in other forms? Or is the uprooting of it completely irreversible damage to the lifespan and history of the baobab?
Uprooting it is completely reversible because when you take the baobab to a new habitat, for example, in the northern hemisphere where it doesn't naturally grow, then in that case you lose the species that depend on that particular tree, and therefore it's and then in many cases you as you heard from the Kenyan story when you introduced this topic, the baobabs that were taken to Georgia dried completely, so you end up losing the species itself because this is not its habitat. But when you grow a baobab as bonsai tree, it's possible. You can grow it indoors, but I think once you uproot baobab from its ecological zone, then you lose it completely. And then the current use of the pulp is also having an effect on the sustainability of the tree. Why? Because when you harvest the fruit, you don't return the seeds to the ecosystem. You take the seeds away together with the pulp, and the tendency is to pick the biggest fruit in the tree, and of course, with the time you tend to lose to introduce what we call genetic drift. That means you lose the more productive, the more energetic species of the baobab. And therefore, what we are encouraging people to do is for them to benefit more, they need to grow these species, but we also need policies to be introduced by governments that protect the tree as a species, because this is a very iconic species in the continent.
Yeah, Patrick, thank you so much for your time and your insights. I really do appreciate it. That was Patrick Maundu, an ethnobotanist at the National Museums of Kenya.